Good morning, radio listeners, TV viewers, and our followers on social media. This is your program, The Morning Show with Elton Jones, and as all Wednesdays in the house, we have Mr. Bute. We'll be talking economics, of course. Good morning to you, Bute. How's it?
Good morning. Good morning to the radio listeners and our followers on social media.
I want to just refer to something that happened in the presentation of the budget this week. On November 9th last year, the faction of the SMCP, so the Samaritan Christian Party, presented a motion instructing the Minister of Education to come with a safe school plan to ideas to improve on what's happening around the school in terms of delinquency, fights, and other things like that. We have to bear in mind that the Minister of Education also is the leader of the Samaritan Christian Party. The minister said in Parliament that it's unrealistic and not possible to come with this plan because it should take about a year. And he makes a comparison with the United States, that it took about a year for them to present that because you have to deal with all stakeholders and get input elsewhere, which is true. But I hardly think the comparison is right, where we don't have millions of schools here. We don't have our university do a research, a study on the matter and come up with solution or possible solutions. It's not even clear to us how it's done. But the point is, the question to you is, normally members of the same party speak with each other, or the coalition speaks to each other. If you think this motion was so far-fetched, why was it passed, or why was it entered by your own party?
That's, to be honest with you, I found it, I don't see the logical, the logic principle in it. Why should I ask my, present a motion to tell my minister to do that? I mean, I understand if it comes from someone else in the coalition. I listened to the minister when he spoke to Parliament, and as you said just now, I agree with you. These things have to be done based on research. You can't just make a decision on how safe you can make something if you don't have the data to use. And as Mr. Kamora, sorry, president of the university, said that the university will be morely used in 2019 to do a lot of that kind of work, doing research and completing data that we can use. So it will be a good subject issue that the university can take up, and so we could have some really hard facts about youth violence.
Last week we spoke about the failure of this government, of Samaritan government, to take a decision on the 12.5% shares in UTS, which was being sold. Well, the sale is complete. The government of Curacao and Liberty Latin America has come to a deal on the sale of UTS. And while Liberty Latin America says they're going to buy out the other 12.5 shares, we still have not gotten from our government a clear position where they stand on the sale and what they hope to achieve with their shares if they didn't go in the premier share sales by the larger shareholder. What is the intention of our 12.5 shares and the economic impact of that?
No, let me correct with that. sorry. Government, because the minister, I think the government rep in UTS was the Minister of Justice.
Yeah.
He came to Parliament because we have to do this via a Lansford ordering.
Yep.
And Parliament have to approve it. So I think government is in line because they've been advised by UTS, St. Martin also, that they have to go down that way and sell their shares. Government can't, if government keep UTS, they cannot, they can't provide for the company, and the company, things are getting, as the managing director spoke, things are getting so expensive that as a small little company in the market, it will be, they can't compete at all. So it will be advisable for government to get their money for their shares. My parliament have to do what they have to do because the reports and the advice is on the table. Make a decision. Either you're going to sell the shares or you're going to keep the shares, but make a decision about it.
And that's what I'm saying. We haven't heard anything on government, and I don't know why we make it seem as if it takes that long to put an ordinance together. It gives the impression that, we are so busy we could only look at one thing at a time. These are important issues. I had thought before that we would have tried to cash out our shares for the infrastructure that's already here, because it's immovable goods. You can't take it up and take that out in our share value. But nothing has been done, and it's just dragging on. And we were warned before that we run the risk of our shares be devaluated.
Yes, not that alone. I don't know if government put a team in place to negotiate with Liberty. I heard of some of the things, the schools, like example, each school in Curacao will get 100 meg of free internet. These are things you have to negotiate because these are things very important. The Liberty, 100 meg for company Liberty is peanuts given to schools. So these are things that you have to negotiate on behalf of your education system, which will advance your education system. Because internet in school now is something unavoidable. You have to have it.
It's a must.
It's a must.
But it's good that these a company, like, I don't know this company personally, but I think they're showing good corporate citizenship by already wanting to invest in the youth, invest in education. I've argued this long time how government can get more money for its education by tapping into a few of these companies we have here, but no action is taken on that. So I'm encouraged that this company, even before they start doing business, has already made a commitment to the youth and to education. Another thing we talked about briefly last week, but I didn't, at the time when you brought up, I didn't read it, but I read it now. The Minister of Finance in Curacao is implementing some cost-cutting measures, and the Member of Parliament says it would cause serious financial and socioeconomic problems or a collapse. I read a piece from former president of the CBCS, Mr. Trump, and he said government policies are not factually based, and they're all reaction to things set forth by the CFT. He's arguing that the government is not sitting down putting policies that look at what's happening in the country, talking to its social partners or all stakeholders to put sound policies that will move the economy forward. He says that because of this knee-jerk reaction just to please the CFT, it means that the economy of Curacao is going to be set back light years, because the measures you put, while on the top it sounds good, there's no incentive to encourage economic input or economic growth. How do you look at that?
Well, I saw it Monday on TV Direct. We organized that viewing at the Cigar Lounge. A set of us was there, and we look at it. That interview with the ex-president of the Central Bank of Curacao, Mr. Martin. And a lot of the things that he said, and they implies indirectly also to us in the way that our Minister of Finance, and you could take an example, our Minister of Finance want to collect back taxes. It will have the same impact when you go collecting, because you're taking money that person could use to purchase or to invest in the economy. You're going looking for old money that it doesn't make no sense. You're going looking for those old money, but you're dragging that person in, and the only thing you're going to do now for people start hiding their money and not investing in the economy. So what he said was extremely, because he said very clearly in the interview, we have to stress on our social economic issues. Yes, you have to balance the budget, and you have to make sure these things in place, but you also have to show your social economic responsibilities. So a lot of times when you're breaking your neck negotiating, you have to let the CFT know that I can't neglect these things, you know. But he also mentioned in the interview something very important. He said every September, all the kingdom ministers going to these conferences in United Nations of sustainable development, right? And he said, what are we doing since 2010? What have we done on sustainable
development?
And especially now, I'm living in St. Martin, I don't know, you know, much, even though I go to Curacao very often, but I take St. Martin example. We have done zero in sustainable development.
Well, we have spoken about it.
Yeah,
if
we have
that
done
helps.
Zero. And sustainable development is completely now not only development, only it's a complete business. It's a completely business with solar park, with wind energy and all of that. It's a complete business. And what I don't understand in St. Martin, I really understand this. Why is it so hard for we to invest in sustainable development? Invest that people could pay lower money to energy, because once your energy is lower, people have more money then to buy other things with it. So I don't know why is it a problem in St. Martin for us to decide. And now, not thinking of, let's live, this is, I'm talking of before Hurricane Irma. You understand? It has not been done. I'm not going to say now that Hurricane Irma, blah, 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 and you know, with all the issues. It has never been a plan of government to put GB in a direction that we go to that direction and move the economy to that direction. So some of these problems we have created, these problems. And he also spoke in that interview about the debt relief we got, and that we went back in the same direction by borrowing money from the Netherlands and from our our institutions. So we back to where we was pre-2010. And because we have never developed our economy to grow or to, you know, not only the economy, our tax system and all of that. So now because we have these shortfalls, the only thing bureaucracy, government people do, the only thing they know is borrow. So they put the country in the same system, same place we were before 2010.
For some time, about 2 decades now, we've been talking about GB's use of heavy fuel and light fuel, and then the intention to somehow get away from the fossil fuels, because many people are talking about the fuel clause all this while ago, but to date nothing has definitively been done. We talk about putting in a sun panel, a solar panel at the pond. They had it already made out and they were going to put on the schools, but it's all talk. We have decades now talking about, because people are still today crying out about this fuel clause that sometimes turn out to be more than what you actually pay for electricity. So what I tell you, we have spoken about it. What we get on this development goals is talk a lot, but nothing has been done, because we bring up things and 2 decades after, nothing is done on it, and it goes out. But definitely what interests me about the Trump address was that you can, it's like you could take a copy and put it over. St. Martin is identical, the same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing is happening in terms of government. Nothing at all is being done, but we talk about it. And in the meanwhile, the economy continues to say, because it's a Martin, there's no other angle either. Our government follow blindly whatever the CFT dictates.
You know that, and I agree with you when you said nobody have done nothing, because the government, all the government that were there, not one GB minister, and not to say GB minister, not one minister in charge of ROMI with GB as their responsibility, have done nothing with the sustainable development of GB, or with that cross, what we call the fuel clause. I call it a cross because it's so much money,
It's a lot of money
that you pay. So nobody have done nothing about it, you know. And I don't know if it's external, because you have the political forces and then you have the business forces on you, and you have the external forces. So I don't know which one of those forces put so much force on the ministers that not one ministers up to date have decided to touch that issue.
I want to get a good understanding of what it means to be blacklisted as a tax haven. The European Union has adopted a motion declaring the Netherlands a tax haven, and they moved to have them blacklisted. We can remember well that the offshore business in the Netherlands Antilles at the time was considered creating a tax haven. It wasn't good for the country, and it was moved. There are other things that were happening in the former Netherlands Antilles that lended, according to the Dutch experts, to the impression of creating tax havens. Now it's done in Holland. We hear much talk about what happens, and we were just discussing the instruction or advice, recommendations from the Financial Task Force, and that we can be blacklisted if we don't follow them. How does this, the blacklisting of the Netherlands, affect our actions here?
I saw the article and I started reading about it. To be honest with you, blacklisting of the Netherlands won't have much impact on us because their business, what they do, don't come through us or anything like that. That's my personal opinion. But if you go back to history, they have, on the back of us, especially in the back of Kurdistan and Aruba, who had a big offshore business, created and developed their offshore business that they have today. They made those treaties with the United States that put us in a very bad situation, that all of the companies that used to be in Kurdistan are established in Amsterdam. All of them established in Amsterdam. And they have made billions of dollars in taxes. That I even just read today in an article that Holland have over 12 billion euros, 12 billion euros of the budget of 2018 that is not spent as yet, or they don't have no way to spend it. Okay, so much money the economy made, and according to the financial planning organization, the economy of Holland will be doing so good for the next 5 years.
Yeah, they estimated 2% growth.
Yeah.
I heard something yesterday that doesn't sit well with me. I'm not an economist, but I follow these things a lot. And when I was at the airport, I dealt with meetings for the airport and dealing with salaries and stuff. And it was an economic norm, internationally accepted, that you shouldn't be paying more than 33% of your income on salaries. So, your workforce should not take more than 33% of your overall income budget.
It counts for countries also.
Okay. I heard the Minister of Finance say yesterday that the serious problem that happened is with
human resources.
Human resources, and he mentioned 45%.
Yeah.
That would almost put you bankrupt. No viable business could run with 45% of its income going to labor. How does that happen? What are we doing?
Listen, in less than, I remember my good friend Marcel Gunstone, when he was Prime Minister, it was 38% then.
Yeah, but not actual stake. The 45% is astounding. I mean, really, if people understand what is happening, no wonder government don't have the money for
that means that we be hiring like crazy.
Yeah,
and that means that we will be having political.
It is suicide. Listen to me.
Yes.
If you're hiring like crazy, I could look at it small scale, but comparatively, because my best example is the airport. I've been there forever. If you hire like crazy, it must mean that it takes up all of these spaces that you formerly outsourced.
Yeah.
So all the consultants and all this will be gone. But you're hiring like crazy and you still have all these consultants. So how does that work?
Because you're not hiring people with expertise. You're giving people jobs, as we said in good St. Martin English. You know, you're complying with your political speeches and promises that you made. Okay, so that's your problem you're having. So today now you're with a 45% personnel cost alone is 45%. That is astonishing.
It's crazy. I remember the former ALM had this thing. It was very suffering. Anybody near a job sent them to ALM. ALM at the time had 3 jets. I can remember this well. In the 3 jets, but they had
900
close to 900 people. It's my thing. So you're just making money to pay the employees because there was no way to expand. You know how long we operated with just 3 jets? There was no way of expanding or doing anything else because we just had to pay salaries. It is, it is.
But it goes back to the economic question that you are not creating a strong private sector to create developing businesses that these people, instead of coming to government, they go to business. Because you're creating your business development, your program, your business development program that you have set up is so good that people don't have to come and knock on your door and ask for a job because there's job available in your private sector. But you're not doing that. So they're coming to you to knock on your door to come, oh, Lord, Mr. Jones, help my son with a job there now. And that's what's happening. And it should not be that. It should be that we as people coming out of school, graduating, we go in the private sector first and seek jobs. And if not, then if you study a particular something, okay, something issue with government, you go government. But it's just opposite, and it indicates something is wrong with our development, our business development in our economy. So something government is doing wrong. That's what it's indicating. Those figures also is indicating that. It's very simple.
The overall budget debate of this week was interesting in some sense. Government is finding it, we might need, again, we have a large deficit, we might need, again, liquidity support. However, I see in the budget things that I consider pet projects or things that shouldn't be there when you're in an emergency situation, because the reconstruction area is emergency, because we don't have, our economy has not bounced back to the degree we could take care of itself. We don't have the luxuries of doing the things we would have done or could have done otherwise.
We have to show responsibility.
But yet, we are budgeting something that I'm totally against because I believe it creates the wrong impression. Right now, the ministers have a driver and something else, they want bodyguards. How do you justify bodyguards? I mean, I heard this thing about, it's according to international norms. What do I have to do with international norms? Are our leaders really in danger of being assassinated and being attacked and stuff like that? I mean, where are we going with this? Secondly, we have budgeted $800,000 for that. We have budgeted $800,000 for new cars. Can we really afford new cars now? What's the excuse for that one? The cars are already 5 years old. We're going to give them to the departments to use. So they're good. The departments could use them, but they're too old for our ministers to drive in. So we're going to get new cars. Mind you, this is a time where we can't balance the budget. This is a time when we're looking for liquidity assistance. This is a time when the CFT and the Dutch government said if the ministers and the parliamentarians don't take a salary cut, we're not going to approve any liquidity support. So are we really serious with where we're going with these kind of crazy things? And we also budgeted for a new tax office. Let me see, I think about 4 million. I don't remember the figures now. But the point is, do we have the luxury now, in the term of economic downturn after disaster, to add these things to our wish list, to put them in a budget and have it approved?
You know, Mr. Jones, what I have missed, and I've been missing for years in St. Martin, organizations, when the budgets, let me start with our media. How much time have you read anything about the budget from the media self? Not picking from what Parliament have said. From the media, concerned as a media outlet, explaining the population issues on the budget, publicizing the budget, that the population can get an idea. Not one media, nobody. Secondly, organizations like Mr. Martin, unions, none of them speak about the budget. Foundations, none of them. Professional organizations, none of them speak about the budget. So it is something that we as people living in St. Martin, as professional organization, we like, wow, that's how your business, man, how you deal with it. It should not be. It should be that we as professionals, we as organization, should set up the budget, and then we send in our reverse new budgets done, and we say, hey, here we could show you where you could cut more, where you could put money there, where you could put money, and then we bring a revised budget. We put this is a budget, and maybe we cut the budget maybe 20% more. Neither the political parties and none of them come up with a revised budget from their side. So who's to blame? You could blame government and tell them what government is bringing forward or putting forward to Parliament. But who's bringing a revised something of the budget and saying, this you can do better? And then there was, this will have to then outplay in the public arena and in Parliament. But nobody knew nothing about that. So the minister sit on a throne where he presented his things and nobody saying you could do a better job, because here we proving you that we could do a better job by cutting and not killing, but cutting and making some good revision of the budget, some big good movement of money where money is needed, and cut certain things that is needed. And one of the most important thing, move the economy forward, let them jumpstart the economy. And I don't see that in the budget, that the Department of State getting money to develop the economy. I don't see it.
Well, that's another problem I'm having. I'm going to come to that. The TIAT budget, if you compare us with, let's say, Aruba, if you look at any game show on the United States television networks, Aruba is mentioned for a free trip because they want to make sure that their people know Aruba. Where you look at most Aruba have an advertisement on national TV in the USA selling Aruba, and it shows in their figures. Their figures continue to rise. We don't have those things. We don't do enough promotion. We need to get more uplift out of the South American table to fill in what we call the off season, because their winters when we have summer. But not necessarily. But they cut the budget again. The budget, the Minister of Tourism budget has been cut by over $2 million. But when you raise the budget of the Minister of Finance by $4 million to reconstruct the tax department and the tax office and those things, and build the tax office, and quite necessary. But what we're talking about here is priorities and urgency. Can these things not wait another year or maybe another year and a half? We have done basically nothing 18 months after Irma to get our people out of the critical situation in terms of roofing, housing, and so we can still only point to 10 roofs, except for what the NGOs do. We also have the hurricane season starting in 2 months, and people are going to be going into this nervous era again. And we honestly believe that it's urgent to buy cars, get bodyguards, build a tax office. Who are you going to tax? If the economy isn't running, who do you tax? What do you get from people that are not making? The old people here, you can't get water out of rock. So where are we going to get these things? All I'm talking about is let's set our priorities straight. We first have to have an economy, not just an economy that is there, but an economy that shows some sense of growth. 1%, whatever. But some sense of growth, then you go after. But if the economy is stagnant, who are you going after?
Let me say this. It is as if the Minister of Finance dictated on the Minister of Tiat. And he just telling him, yeah, okay, go ahead. Oh, it's good. Oh, yeah, good. He just said, I need this, I need this, I need it. And as if the Minister of Tiat was not fighting that, listen, I need money to develop this country. I need money to do this. Because the problem is that the Minister of Tiat don't have a program. You just talk about that. I'd never heard the Minister of Tiat talk about the St. Martin tourist, the authority where we have. I never heard him talk about it. Never. And this is something in the pipeline now for the last 9 or 10 years. I never heard the man talk one word about it. This is the institution who have to run the whole tourist aspect of money from room tax have to go to them, and they will do all the promotion and all of that. I never heard a man talk about it. So I don't know what his policies are, what his future plan are. If he has sit with stakeholders, did they put a budget in place together? How are we going to promote St. Martin in 2019? I really don't know. You know, I don't think with the money that he has, he can do anything.
I believe, and we talked about this last week, but about another body. We talked about a gaming board, but the same thing happened to St. Martin Tourist Authority.
Yeah.
Certain things have to be taken away from government departments. It must be independent standing bodies that do their job, and government not able to dip in the budget and set the policies for these independent bodies. If you have a tourist authority, many more people pay into it. The hotels, and you could set different fees that will keep this body running, not have to depend solely on government budget. Nothing is being done, but we see now government is in a crunch, and something that you would need more to get the economy back is being cut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way we look at things. We're so afraid of losing political control that we're not leaving the country the way it should. It ought to function independent of political influence, and the tourist authority must come. We cannot continue promoting the country and hoping that one will tell one and one tell the other. We have to do much more in terms of promotion, and in our whole picture out there in the wider world that we're open for business should be much better than this, and we can do it. It can be accomplished by cutting a budget every year.
No, definitely cannot. I mean, you cannot, because every time you cut your budget, you make on paper assessment how much money you plan or you think you will collect, but what your expenses will be definite that or more. But besides that, that's another problem. Let me go back to the part of personnel. When you look at on the budget for training of personnel, because you just said you taken on all these people who are working for government, and you still have this high amount of money paid to consultants. Now, what about training of these personnel on MBO and HBO level for you to close that gap? Because I know you have a judicial upleading now, which for legal, but you don't have an MBO or HBO upleading for public administration. So you have that gap that you have there, because you have a tremendous gap in government apparatus and government organization. That people who came in with high school and forever, because there are no upleading for public administration, are very few. You don't have no MBO, HBO upleading for public administration on the island. I heard it said it's very expensive, but you have a huge personnel now. So you have to put a plan for the next 3 years that you could train these people there, because if it's a 3-year or 2-year course, that you could train as much people you can for you to close the gap and have some additional expertise and cut costs of these consultants. Government always will have to use consultants, because there's a lot of work that in the private sector that you have to do with private companies, but you could cut down that money.
Cut down a bit. One of the things I failed to see with the address of the Minister of Education, Culture and Youth Affairs is their inability to be creative, to come up with ideas to make money. in his presentation, in one of his presentations, he was in Parliament quite a few times, he said that the ballparks and certain youth affair projects are going to be put off, so delayed, deferred to 2021. These are projects that are important to the thing, and the reason it's deferred, they don't have the money, that's all.
Yeah.
The program itself is written, but they don't have the money, but there are places to get the money. We have suggested before that we look at the gaming houses, and that's why it ties in with the gaming board. We don't collect nothing from these people.
Exactly.
We have almost per capita just as much on gambling or casinos as Vegas, a bigger country, millions of people. So if we have these people really pay their fair share, instead of going for a flat fee, go over to the drop, we can fund our education, all the youth product we want. It seems like government in subsequent budgets has avoided, first of all, coming with a gaming board and coming up on ways to get more money out of these gaming institutions.
With that, I totally agree with you. I don't have no word extra added to it. Same thing like that. This is an issue also being avoided for the last 10 years. People just keep avoiding it, because it shows very clearly there are these forces that weighs politically on the parties, these business forces, and when all the ministers, again I go back, all the ministers of theater was there, not one of them addressed this issue. And again, you see it in the budget, you put it there, but it's just going to put there that it's going to be, and nothing going to happen. Trust me, nothing is going to happen.
Okay, let's go to an open thing now. We got 10 minutes, we're going to do this for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We're talking electoral reform. I've read that the were a group put together under the leadership of the Prime Minister, has its first meeting, and they're discussing political reform. Some of the things that I saw, or that I think needs to be heading these lists is campaign finance, campaign reform in the sense of how much parties can, the amount, like the Friend side has an amount of what you could give out, the size of posters, the amount of posters, everything is regulated to make sure that the guy who don't have deep pockets have a democratic level playing field. So it should not be that because I can pay this and I could put a poster big as the courthouse, that means I'm more visible than the rest. So tell me first of all what you think about the electoral reform and what you see as some of the things we can institute to make the country, give the country a more semblance of a democracy.
First of all, let me start with the committee. I don't see the committee is a committee which is completely on the side government people. Of one party.
Yeah, that's what's wrong again.
Yeah, I don't see the community reflected in the committee. There's nobody reflecting the committee. I mean, at least you could have picked one person from the union, at least one from the organization, the business organization, one person. At least you have to have a reflection on the community, because what Mr. Hoffman, what Mr. Rogers, what Ms. Plantain, what the Prime Minister think, me and you maybe don't think like that. And nobody then will bring our ideas forward and say, listen, this is the issue, this is the problem. They know what the problem is, but will they combat it as it should be combated? A politician will never, you will never hear a politician say, like today I heard someone said, no politician will bring up that people with permanent paper should vote, because he knows that will be detrimental to him. You understand?
But look, if you look at our government, our system of government is very introverted, meaning or centralized. Everything must be done from government. Government must be in control of everything. If you look back at the acquisition of this separate state, it was the same thing. All we used was civil servants. There are people in the community who have experience with these things, people who have studied constitutional law. And so I would think that if you're going to make such a work group, it should be away from government and bring things to government. Then the civil servants and the judicial team in government work on it.
Yeah.
If it comes from government, government doesn't touch the people outside. I honestly believe, while in the government structure, it should be headed by the Prime Minister. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
To have a work group now that supposed to, and it's not going to be because civil servants don't do that.
Yeah.
Go out into the community and feel the people. You have to feel what's playing out there. Talk to think tank groups and stuff like that
Talk to
know what's happening,
community meetings.
and then you make a report and send it in to them. They work on it. This way, it's going to be what one politician thinks, because Plantain, I have respect for them. They're jurists and they know what they're doing. But if the Prime Minister says no, I don't want to, what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to stop against the Prime Minister and do what? Your civil servant, the hierarchy works like that. You know what the authority is. I think it's the wrong way to take it. And honestly, government have to say what it is they want to achieve with the reform. Because in the past 10 years, all we've heard about, find a way to
Stop ship jumping.
control ship jumping, because it's detrimental to the country, because we have no equilibrium, no permanence in government. People don't know that a cabinet would last anytime, and this one is on the way out again. So that's what it's about. Stop the ship jumping. But that is not reform.
No.
That is not, doesn't, what is
I
happening
don't
is
think you can reform that ever.
no, because the system you're in permits it.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere in this kingdom.
Yeah.
So it's not a phenomenon that's only known to some. It happens everywhere. And honestly, I think it is so hypocritical, disingenuous of the politicians of all the parties in government, because all of them, at one point or another, has benefited from it. So that cannot be the biggest issue we have. We have to say what we're hoping to achieve with this reform and how long. We have election if this government will last for the term they're supposed to, so till 2022. We have things that we want to see by that date. What are those things? What instruction was this work group given to what the goals they have to meet? To just say, yeah, we have political reform, we do that with a straight up. For the last 4 governments, we had 8 about now, I think.
Yeah.
I saw the governor give them instruction, come with a solution to ship jumping. Not a word. Normally you would find a 90-page report, but nothing. Absolutely,
Not one.
absolutely nothing has come from it.
But I just saw you that in the end, and I think we have a culture of complaining. As a good friend of mine, he's calling me from Curacao. He listened to our program and other programs, and he said to me, I mentioned one program. He said, no. That program is only criticize. They don't bring solution to the table. And that's what you need in our community now. And I said it something ago with my friend. I said we have to stop the criticism. If every Saturday we have to meet together as friends, a little barbecue, one of our own home, and saying, write papers, write solutions, recommendations. We have to start doing this as professionals who are semi or retired. Give the youth who are coming or in place, the sense that, there are people in there who can help. You don't have to be called to do a job. You just can do it from outside without being there. Because we feel that, if I don't get on a board or this, no. Let me start writing our ideas. Let me put them on papers and recommendations to government. If they don't use them, that's their problem.
One of the things I appreciate, and people tell me is, why are you always using Curacao as an example? My little experience of being in Curacao, when I went to Curacao in 71, it's the first time I heard about people making think tank groups. Curacao had them back then.
Yeah.
It's like they were there to give government ideas or to talk about what government is doing, how it affects the people. In St. Martin, we don't have those things. And one of the things we definitely don't have in St. Martin is respect for the professionals who can contribute. Government believes your input should be zero until they feel they want it.
Yeah.
They don't encourage people to look at things objectively. And it doesn't matter to me what color you wear, because for me, it doesn't matter. If you're elected, you're going to get my respect. Not my admiration, but my respect, because you deserve that, because the people think you are.
Yeah,
So, but I'm saying we have the brain power. in the country, but it's not used because of petty politics. Or you run on another list, I don't like you, so we don't care what you have to say.
Yeah.
While it might be detrimental, it might be good for what ails the society.
What your knowledge that you have, I need it. What you have to bring at the table.
But another thing I find difficult in this country too, and we talk about it sometimes about volunteerism and the need to get people to participate in things. The old saying that politics is dirty and I want nothing to do with that, and all politicians are crooked and thing. It's a nice cliche. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, politicians will determine how you live, where you live, and what you get. Because that's where it stops. They're elected and you have to deal with them. Whether you want to or not, you have to. That's the way it works. We are better off, contributing somehow, even if the politicians, to his own detriment, don't want to take the good advice, sound advice given by people in the know. Because if I had to deal with an economic issue, I want to get somebody who understands economics. I don't want to give the impression out there that I know it all. And that's what happens to our government. We go to meetings, we meet with the Dutch, we go to meet with the World Bank, we meet with everybody, and we are rocket scientists. We know everything. We go by ourselves. I can remember from back in the 90s, the Dutch ministers and so come here, and they come with an entourage of advisors.
Yeah.
Because they don't think they know it all. But we leave some out, we know it all. We don't need nobody around. And we end up being this, we talk about, but they didn't keep this promise, or they didn't keep to that agreement and that agreement. How do we know? We don't know what you're talking about. You didn't take anybody with you.
And then you don't come back and inform us.
Exactly. And these are the things. And that's why I'm saying to you, this electoral reform, I need to know where it's going. For me, and I've told this to the chair lady when she was here, time we were talking about it, just after the election, because that's one of the things they were going to do.
Exactly.
And I said, what I'd like to see is...
They was going to do, let me be corrected, from after the Marcel cabinet.
Yes.
That was a promise.
So I want to see political financing reform. Because why would a businessman in 16 square miles, 60,000 people, 23,000 voters, give one party $250,000 to run a campaign?
Yeah.
You tell me this doesn't like me that much, or he needs something back.
Yeah.
What is it he wants back? Why don't we level the playing field then? If this businessman gives 250 to one party, then give at least 2 to the rest. Because the same law we have in getting the same amount of TV time, radio time, we could do it for everything else. We are corrupting the system by allowing them to give these kind of money, because you don't have to go to Harvard to figure out that it's something they want in return.
Yeah.
So I believe campaign finance is the first thing we need to reform.
But
let's get it out of the way.
But we have to do campaign financing across the board.
Across the board, that's what I'm saying, across the board.
Not only people giving, but also people who collecting. Because I'll give you an example. We notice in the business of communication, then everything goes up.
Yep.
Okay? So even on that, you have to make the playing field equal. If I come with a small party, I can't go on Mr. Jones' program because Mr. Jones charging $2,000.
Yeah, it changes right as soon the day they approve the list, the price go up.
I have to pay Mr. Jones $2,000 for interview.
It's crazy.
You understand? So we have to do all of those across the board.
But that's what I honestly believe this, because I see how little parties struggle and stuff like that. And it's not right that only people who have money, we're building a class system that then every child don't have the opportunity to run for office because he doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
And then only the rich will run the country and the rich will deter what happens.
Exactly.
That is not the way it should. So that's why I'm saying political reform is nice to go to a press conference and say that to people, that we're working on political, we put our group together. What are we hoping to achieve? Tell me where we're going. What are we doing? On the front side, a guy is allowed to get 25,000 euros. he have to declare it. It must be in euros too. If you take it in dollars, if you win a seat, they can take it back.
Yeah.
You have things must be sanctionable, and it must be made clear to the public. So this in itself says nothing to me, because I know of a lot of things that we plan to do, and there were studies and you never get a result from. It never came to Parliament. It never came anywhere, and it just died a nice death. So the people heard about it. Boy, yeah, government is working on these things. Are going to change. When, how, and where? You know.
Or at the suggestion you just brought this on the front side, you have 6 parties. Each parties get 250,000 guilders from government. Run your campaign. I put in 2 million guilders on the budget. It's 6 parties, 250,000 guilders each, and the rest money for the organization, the political thing, and that's on the budget.
That's it.
And you cannot go out of that circle. From the time you got out of that circle, and I notice you lost, and we do it strong. You lost that person. You that we noticed did something wrong, you lost your seat.
That's what they do in France. They take
Yeah.
back your seat, because you have to stay within the laws. And if you see informally, 2 persons on the French side, I think, lost their seat for that. It was simply for making accounts and
Mr. Fleming and twice Mr. Richardson.
You cannot do that. It's not permitted.
No.
But here, we have no sanctions for these things. I asked the chair lady last time she was here, Madam Chair, are there sanctions in Parliament for people, so for ministers of people coming to Parliament and lying to Parliament? She said, no, they have immunity. So, but if you're not bound to tell me the truth, what sense are you coming to Parliament?
Yeah.
How would the people know how the country is really running? You're not bound. You have no obligation to speak truth to the people. You say what you want because nothing happens.
They did not make provision in the law.
Exactly.
That said
That's what I'm saying.
That when you come to declare something in Parliament, that you have to say it under oath. So we have to make that provision.
Yeah, we're 9 years old. It's
Yeah.
about time we start putting these things in place. We can't go ahead with the excuses that, we don't have no law government. Make the law, for God's
Yeah.
sake.
Yeah.
We need to know that our representatives are telling the truth, and we need to know that, they're not lying to us, or else they have a burden to pay in front of the court.
Yeah.
So, besides finance, political financing, what else do you see as an issue that we need to address in this reform?
There are certain things. One of the things that is very serious is youth and in this reform. One issue for me that's really at heart. I won't call it a reform, but it's something that we have to put in place as soon as possible. Is the development of the library. It's something very important. The library institution is doing their best in putting something, a small little room in place. It cannot be. We should put something in place. I said, listen, we had these big tents here. I don't know the background history.
They said they're stored somewhere. They have some that was on the pond too that they
Yes.
used for the school. They're still here.
Come on.
I don't know why they didn't use them, and so.
Sometimes I really want to believe and really want to go behind what government says, but then government preach another Sam.
One of the things I remember from last election, and looking at all the parties we have, and people have a right to go out there and say some things they would like to do, and I understand how government works. Sometimes you're in a coalition, you can't do the things you want to do or said you would do because you need cooperation from other parties, and maybe they don't consider those priorities for you. But still, I don't understand. I've said this before. I don't understand most of all the Christian parties, the Man Christian Party. They got themselves elected on what they considered Christian norms, that's the way to put it, or Christian values. And if you see the way it went, they weren't willing to work with this, but they'll work with that. They weren't willing to do this. And if you see what's happening now with what they're presenting, it's not really the way they thought it would be. They're not living up to those things. And these things kind of bother me. Because if people have to take you on your word and look at you as an upstanding citizen and believe what you say, and then it comes down to politics as usual, with what face do you go to these same people 2 years, 3 years from now, and say, look, I need your support for this? Because now you run on a record, not on emotion.
Yes.
You have a record, you're in government.
Yeah.
What did you do? I have your manifesto in my car still. It says this is what you stood for. How much of that has you fulfilled?
Yeah.
You know, it's...
They have a hard, I would say, nuts to crack. You know, for this coming election, I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's up to them. I hope they have a strategy in place for that.
Yeah, but the same thing goes for the UD and the thing. The thing is, you say, if I'm in government, these are the things I am going to do. So you have, hopefully you get your 4 years, because this government have a year plus going now.
Yeah.
If you get your 4 years, you should be able to come and tell me, these are the things I accomplished on a hard situation. Because I understand you came in an emergency after a hurricane. So yeah, the situation was tight. But tell me what you have accomplished. What did you do? How did you make the lives of the people better? Are the people better off since you come or not? That's running on a record. What do you say now after sitting there for 4 years? What do you tell the people?
Well, you know that, and again, to go back to what we said in the beginning, political organizations, they don't take those things, that they re-evaluate or evaluate themselves constantly. You have these organizations in your party that they do that kind of work, and then that's why people will get mad when you refer all the time to yourself, because you have that in your party structure, that they call you in. Your party call, listen, I think what you want to do there ain't not going to fly, You can go ahead, do it, but it's going to cause a party problem. The Minister of Finance of Curacao is getting so much backflack now of the measures that he wanted to take.
Measures, yeah.
You understand? That he didn't study out good well enough. He just wanted to balance his budgets, but the ramification of it is like tenfold. So all of these things we have to do, and that's what I'm saying again. We as people, we as professionals, we as semi-retired and retired. These are the things that we have to start doing for our country, not for government, for our country.
I remembered all of the parties in the last election, those that I interviewed and those that I listened to, talked about their board and their back office. Yeah. How come when you get in government or in parliament, you don't have a board and a back office no more? It's just what the politicians say. You hear nothing from the rest of them. So are these sham organizations, or do they really exist to make something happen? Because you don't hear them. I asked the deputy leader of UD, Mr. Myers, he was on the program, what about your boards? Because I see only the wife of your leader out there screaming, but the board and the rest of the party says, and he said, no, we're saying we're working on things. But the thing is, you're not vocal, you're not out there, you're not visible. Why is it now you pull back?
And listen, and it's not your word, right? Is the word of the leader when he resigned. He said that he don't have no confidence in his party. So including his party means also his party board. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to see what happens. I'm going to try to get some more information on this reform. We could hammer it again. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Morning Show with ELTON Jones and Mr. BUTE. We have come to the end of the program. We'd like to thank you for listening. We'll be with you again on Wednesday with some more information on political reform and the economy. Do have a pleasant day further. Goodbye.